maintenance live stream. This like so. That should be good. All right. Did a little maintenance off camera, a little bit, but still got 3 shelves worth left to go on, and I think most of these, other than this, no, actually, these 3 shelves will be all species that I didn't show off last week. That I did maintenance for these off camera, but now I'm switching it up. So the 2 shelves I did maintenance on today were stuff that I showed off last Wednesday. So, yes, you made it. Hey, King Campy. Hey, Tennyson. How you guys doing? These are my Venezuela species. Black Castle. I don't actually know the history on these. I don't know if they're actually a Venezuela or if they're... Because if they're Old World, I think they would be probably more close to Cubaris, wouldn't they? If they're New World, then maybe that makes more sense. These guys weren't doing super hot when I first got them, but I've been seeing a lot more babies. I think they got rickettsiella when like as soon as I got them, but have since overcome it, and now they are starting to do pretty well. I've noticed they like it pretty moist, and I've been giving them some of this moss and some wood and leaf litter underneath that, and that seems to really be... There's some like fungus growing in there. But, you know, I'm saying there's a bunch in here now. I don't see any. But, okay, there's one. I just want to show one of them off. Very fossorial species. They are not very surface active whatsoever. But they are really cool. They're pretty striking in coloration. And, yeah, they have like a very chunky body shape. Slightly variable in patterning. But yeah, these guys are pretty cute. I really do like them quite a lot. But yeah, these are a slower breeding species for sure. It's pretty small brood sizes. But, seems like if you just keep them moist and give them lots of organic matter, they seem to do pretty well. So, hoping I can make these available later in the year. I need these, yeah. Well, hopefully I can make them available later in the year. But then I think I got mine from Peter Rushton in trade. These are Porcelio sylvestri, little underrated Spanish Porcelio species. And I kind of revamped them a little recently, gave them some more bark and new leaf litter. So I think I'm seeing babies, yeah. Little Menka right there. So they are breeding again. That's good. Didn't really breed much over the winter, but now they're doing well. I do want to get these switched over to micro mesh here soon, though. I feel like their enclosure could stand to gain a little more ventilation, and they seem to like get a little bit more on the humid side too. Or at least mine aren't really that much in the dry parts of the substrate, so giving them more ventilation and keeping them a little bit more on like a 50-50 humidity gradient, I think would be better. This is one of my Macropinnisthia females. So the male I had in with them died this year. Every adult male I get of these guys is not long-lived for some reason. And my females, I had them in a much larger bin, and I was just kind of leaving them in there and hoping they'd breed, but then all of a sudden I noticed them being a lot more surface active, and I checked, and they're all like, they're missing a bunch of their tarsi now, the females. I mean, this one's missing all but her front, this tarsus right here, but she's missing tarsi on all her other feet. I think the other female has more of her feet intact, and she's a bit younger, but it's not even an age thing. Like, these aren't old females. This one's only a couple years old. And I don't know if this one's ever even reproduced. So, yeah, I don't know what was going on in that larger enclosure, but it messed them up. So now I've got them back in 1 gallon, and I've separated them too. I've got them in 1 gallon shoe boxes here, just shallow substrate. You know, that's what I get. I was like, oh, maybe I should try a more naturalistic, deep substrate with stable, deep, stable substrate so they can like actually make deeper burrows in it. Maybe that'll get them to give birth. And then look what happens. Something went wrong, and they lost most of their tire size. So that's very disappointing. But she's still quite lively, and it's not like they really use their tarsi anyways. They are, I mean, they can barely climb with them, so they are very, it's not really impacting them much to not have them. But I don't, it's a sign of stress that they lost them in the first place, so yeah, I don't know. I'm going to keep them in the 1 gallon boxes now, and hopefully they'll be fine. I'm hoping they've retained some sperm. They were with that male for like a year. So I'm hoping that he did his job at least. And hopefully over the spring they'll reproduce. But I don't know, man. This species has given me a lot of difficulty when it comes to breeding. They're very straightforward to rear, easy, to keep alive, super easy. But to get them to breed is a pain, I am finding. They are not cooperating for me, so it is unfortunate. But yeah, the Macropenestia rhinoceros, they're the heaviest roach in the world, so. Although I think supposedly there's an undescribed Macropenestia that's larger than them. So, yeah. But, like, by a marginal difference. Okay. These are the Porcellio ornatus high yellow witch's brew line. Super cool. Just the Dalmatian morph expressed in Porcellio ornatus high yellow. These guys had a little bit of a crash later last year, and now they're rebounding quite nicely. Lots of reproduction happening in this refreshed bin, so love to see it. I already fed them, and that should be enough. Yeah, they might need more water than that. I am out of water, though, so I guess I'll be right back. Be back in a minute. Gotta refill this. I'm back. I'm back. Let's see. Alright, and these I wanted to water a little bit more. Alright, what's in here? These are my Cubar species rubber ducky. The original 2017 line. These guys, I almost lost them last year. But in addition to having about, I want to say like 8 individuals left of my own colony, I did get some more from Kyle, just to buff up my numbers. And they're doing well. They're recovering pretty well. Again, I revamped their substrate and switched them over to micro mesh ventilation. I think I may have overdid it on the ventilation a teeny bit, but they seem to be doing better in here for sure. I might decrease the ventilation in here, because it seems like the air humidity is dropping a little bit more than would be preferred. However, summer is coming, and with it, with the air conditioning, higher humidity, so I not too concerned. They'll probably start doing better over the summer here. And these are the Porcelio Succinctus Emperoi. My printer ran out of ink. Yeah, these guys, really cool. Leucistic morph, seemingly. Either that or albino. They do have, like, reddish eyes. So, probably some sort of albinism. Yeah, these guys are doing alright. They I finally got a brood from them. The first brood after their Rickettsiella infestation, and it was from a individual that looked male and has male claspers and male uropods, and yet was actually probably intersex. I mean, it has to be intersex because I think it had male genitalia, like male, the claspers, I'm pretty sure, are genitalia, so, yeah, intersex. So, pretty neat, ironically. I think now one of my actual, like, female-presenting females is gravid as well, so that's good. So, should get a couple more broods here soon. Oh. I would like to build up a nice culture of those. My normal Succinctus are doing pretty well, so I'm hoping those will follow suit. This is my Bantua robusta slash armadillo tuberculatus enclosure. It'll be easier to show off the armadillo. These guys are doing really well for me. And I'm getting some of those orange individuals popping up as well. So I'll probably try to isolate an orange armadillo tuberculatus culture. Wait till they get a little bigger, but you can see one of them right there. Clearly in an orange color. It seems in this species, as well as Armadillo officinalis, the orange morph is fairly rusty, kind of a dull orange, not as vibrant as like Porcelio scaber orange or Porcelionitis prunosus, but still a form of orange nonetheless. Hey Sundry, welcome. And yeah, showing off the Bantua themselves is actually a little difficult. They're all, I think, in the lower layers of the bark. I'm finding these like a higher... Oh, here we go. Oh, perfect. 2 males and a female. Finding these like a little bit higher air humidity. But relatively dry bark and hides. So they're kind of like more like Pseudoglamorus magnifica than I'd previously thought. Though I definitely still recommend keeping them a bit drier than that species. But yeah, these are an African Paris-Farinae. Very, very cool. Bit cylindrical in body shape. And nymphs produce a waxy coating. And adult females like this have a little bit of it when they first mature out, but they tend to lose it. But that waxy, glaucous coating can help prevent dehydration. But the females tend to be the adult females tend to be pretty glossy black like this. But yeah, super cool species. And a unique African native. But these are basically Africa's answer to Pseudoglamorus and Paris-Ferris. So yeah, is that the way that was oriented beforehand? It goes like that, actually. Trying to put the bark back how it was, because they were all stacked nicely underneath it. But yeah, these guys are doing well for me for the first time in a while. I was one of the first to successfully culture these here in the US, and then for some reason, sometime they just stopped doing well for me. But now, this colony is doing well. I started them off in a 5-gallon with no side ventilation, only pretty much a fully vented lid. Keeping about a third of the substrate humid, the rest dry, but I am misting. I'm misting them about twice a week, and just a very light misting on the dry side, but seems to be working well. I'm going to give these a little bit of apple and some banana. But yeah, glad these are finally starting to do well for me. Hopefully I'll have a nice big thriving culture of them soon. Alright. But Behijager, I know he has a culture as well, but it sounds like he was having some issues with not having enough males, so I just sent him a couple of mine. Really hope he's able to salvage his culture, because definitely need more people working with the Bantua. Now these are my Princessia van Rebecca Tiger. Ooh, looks like I've had a couple really nice males mature. Look at that. He's still a little teneral, but I quite like that. Definitely a lot more colorful than this. This is one of the major males from last generation. Very black. Almost to the point where it could be something I would maybe try breeding for at one point, but yeah. Yeah, a lot more, this generation getting a lot more solid looking tiger adults, which is pretty nice. A lot of the females are still kind of dark though. So I'm still going ahead with that selective breeding project to try to make them a little bit more clean and consistent with coloration. Like this is a new male that is also pretty dark. But yeah, so many adults. Yeah, I mean, just had a big bloom of adults. They're still maturing out. Like this one literally just molted a few hours ago. You see he's still completely teneral. All of this middle section there will turn to black, but he's still very fresh. So that's an adult as well. So a lot of fresh adults maturing out here over the past month or so. And by the state of some of the females in here, looks like there'll probably be a big baby boom soon as well. Yeah, these guys do pretty well for me. I used to struggle with this species. This colony took a bit to actually start reproducing well for me. And the key really just seems to be high humidity. They like it way warmer, not way warmer, way more humid than a lot of the other hissing cockroaches. And you know what? I got this old grody banana peel. They can have that. This colony is pretty ravenous, so there's also a healthy culture of no locality stock suspected Porcellianitis pruinosis in here that were sent to me randomly as a freebie, and I just chucked them in this setup. And they were thriving for a while, and I think they're still doing well in the lower layers of the enclosure. But the tigers are kind of winning, which is good. But yeah, high humidity and decent ventilation on pretty much all sides. Yeah, except for the back. I already took care of those, actually. Nothing even in there. And then here we have Polyphaga sacera. I need to better ventilate this bin. But I mean, they're doing fine, but I don't like how humid it gets in here relatively easily. But this is a cohab of Polyphaga sacera and Porcellio incanis. Won these from one of Kyle's Bugapaloozas. And they're doing very well in this semi-arid setup. And let's see if I can show off one of the Polyphaga. There's a female with an ooth. These are Saceura's giant sand roach. Pretty big, and she's got a egg case right there that she's extruding. Yeah, these guys are big. Big old choroidids. I think the largest, really, of any of the choroidids. Yeah, certainly bigger than Obscura. Plankii come close. Some Plankii females come pretty dang close. But I think Sacera are still overall larger. Okay. Pods leave the ooth alone? Yeah. Polyphaga ooths are very thick-shelled, so most isopods can't chew out through them. And Porcellio and Canis don't seem to be particularly voracious either. They're mostly just eating the dog food that are in there that I offer the Polyphaga. And even then, I don't think they get to it very fast. The Polyphaga pretty much instantly drag it underground, so yeah, these are my which ones are these? These are Gyna Centurio. Just kind of an old beat-up male there. And, let me see, should be able to show off a female. There's a nymph. Now, where's the female? Here we go. Come on. This one's pretty freshly molted, actually. Alright, well, she does not want to cooperate. There we go. Very pretty. I love this species. Very ornately patterned. Females especially are my favorite. Very red. But yeah, these are the second newest Gyna species for culture. The newest being Gyna sculpturata. Yeah, these entered culture, I don't like 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. It'd be like more like 2010, 2011. I don't quite remember, but still pretty new as far as the Gyna species go. Most of them have been in culture for decades and decades now, so. Alright. Here's some random bobs and bits. Oh yeah, these are my just random Lotto Mix Cubara species Panda Kings. This is a project bin. I was pulling a lot of different cultivars out of this, including the black and red pandas. But this particular population has been throwing out a bit of everything, so working on establishing just a nice mixed culture of all the different Panda King morphs in this one bin. Alright, and then this is the other Macropestia female. She's doing good. Looking a bit more plump than the other female, that's for sure. Yeah, look, she's missing, and this female is fairly young, but she has more of her tarsi intact than the other one. But these back two legs kind of took a hit. But she's definitely very plump, so I'm really hoping she'll produce a litter here in the near future. Really hoping. But yeah, I mean, they seem to be doing better in these 1-gallon bins than they were in that big setup. So, just hoping they will reproduce. They've been mated for sure. They were with the male for like a year, so they should have retained some sperm, and now that it's breeding season, I'm hoping they will produce broods. Oh my holy pyralis, jeez Louise. Alright. This is a project bin which has not produced anything yet. This is Princessia van Becky black, big black, with Ailuropoda and Sinus males. Trying to cross the two. Create something kind of akin to a homemade Leozenterra, basically. But yeah, so far, I mean, some of the females look really gravid, but no babies yet. But hey, here's hoping. I haven't seen any aborted oos yet either, though. So, and the females are getting plumper. So that would suggest that it took. And I mean, I know that Ailuropoda males can cross with tiger females, and those are tigers and the big blacks are supposedly the same species, Princessia van Becki, so they should both be able to cross to Ailuropoda. Yeah. We'll see. We will see. Kind of just expecting babies any day now at this point. A couple of the females are quite plump, so here's hoping. There's a little bit of apple, and I will give them some banana too. Hissers like their nanner. House care for Centurio, pretty easy. Moderately to maximally ventilated, I guess. Not very picky. I keep them pretty humid, though you could get away with keeping them on like a 50-50 humidity gradient, no problem, probably. And you know, a couple inches of substrate to dig through, typical dog food and fruit diet, and they do pretty well. These are old hobby stock Loboptera decipiens, lobe-winged roaches. Just have tiny little vestigial nubs for wings, and the adults, as you can see there, are pretty, Oh, I can zoom in? Huh. I didn't know that. I can, like, I can just zoom in and out while on live stream. That's cool. Wait, now what's normal, though? Uh-oh. Is that normal? That seems too zoomed out. Oh, brother, what have I done? Okay. That seems normal. But yeah, cute little roaches for sure. Casually streaming after... Wait, what was it? Bro casually streaming after mucoridiaing over all those pseudoglomerous glazers today. I know. I couldn't. I changed it up again. I'm roach maxing now. I'm sorry. I'm bug maxing after all. Turns out it's more quiche, you know. Actually made it to it. Actually managed to make the live stream. Hey, cool kid. Thanks for hopping in. Glad you could make it. Yeah, that was that Instagram reel I uploaded today. It took like 4 or 5 takes, because I couldn't make it through without laughing or messing up, tripping up. It was really funny. Yeah, I don't actually talk like that. I mean, some of them have kind of made their way into my daily vernacular, like low genuinely, quiche, crick. A few of the wombos, the word combos are starting to make it into my very irony-filled vernacular, but you know, I don't usually talk like that. But yeah, this is a Apsena species Cuna colony. These guys are kind of on the decline. I threw some into gosh, what was it? I think my Gromphidorina portentosa UCR bin. It's kind of a Hail Mary, and I'm hoping those will pop off, because I find a lot of the micro darklings do well with hissers. But I'm not even sure why, but yeah, my Epsena are not thriving on their own right now. Alright. These are my... Well, there's a random Pseudoglomerus magnifica female, but we don't talk about her. This is my Paris Horianus colony. Look at that. You want to talk about roach maxing? Look at how many there are in there. This is just one hide. But yeah, these guys are doing better for me than this species has ever in the past. Absolutely popping off. And they got dwarf whites in here. They got pyralis. They got, like, you know, a double threat in terms of pests there. I wouldn't be surprised if there were Alphidobius in here too. But, oh, there's Compsodius, Schwartzy as well. But they don't care. They do not care. There are so many Parasphaerus. They are. And they're just constantly pumping out more babies. I think there's a newborn right there. That kind of brown thing. See why they are the freebies. Yeah, my freebies on my freebie section on my site are basically species that I have a lot of at the moment and want more people to keep. So it's usually kind of like uncommon and also like obscure stuff that like that's doing well for me, and I would like to see more people keeping them, and maybe people aren't really wanting to buy them for whatever reason, so I'm like, here, you can choose these as your freebies. And then there's a couple species on there that are just kind of popular that I know people would like, but for the most part, a lot of what I put up there is just stuff I want to see more people keeping, and I have a lot of, and want to spread the love. Kind of like how Kyle's doing that like free culture thing on his Discord server now. That's basically what my freebie section is. Just not with the strings attached that his thing does, but a smaller selection as well. So, you know, it evens out. Yeah, these I keep about, I don't know, a third, almost half of their substrate moist at this point, and then the rest dry. A lot of bark and wood. I find wood, these two big pieces of wood here, wood here as well. Really not much bark. There's only a couple pieces of bark in here. It's mostly wood. And I mean, this is like a couple years old now. They've barely eaten any of the wood, but they definitely have like stripped the surface of it down, although some of that could have been from the dwarf whites as well. But really, it just seems to be their preferred hide. And they do chew kind of like channels into it that they seem to enjoy hiding in. So I think it's less of a dietary thing and more of a just they can't really carve out their own like spaces into bark, but they can do that with wood. So yeah, I don't know. They're doing really well. Can't complain. They're doing the best for me that they ever have. I probably have the largest colony of them, of anyone in the U.S. I have more Parasferus horeanus than anyone else in the U.S. The biggest colony in the United States. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that is the case. I think I've sent Kyle like a couple hundred over the past year or so. He keeps asking me for them. I keep sending him big globs of like 100 at a time, and then a few months later he'll message me and be like, "Hey, I don't have any more. they're all dead now. Like, what is happening?" So he is really struggling to breed those. I think a few of the other people I've sent them to are doing better with them though, so that's good. At least someone besides me is doing well with them. I kind of don't want to be the reason they're the freebie is because I don't want them to be. I don't want mine to be the only colony in the U.S. because if they fail for me for some reason, I'll have no one else to get them from. So, yeah, I kind of want to spread the love with that species a little bit, just so worst case scenario, I can get them back from somebody. Trying to spray them down. Yeah, no. I mean, it's only like really small species where you risk them drowning in the water droplets. And even then, I usually will just spray them down. Sometimes I'll, instead of like spraying like this, right, I'll go like put the nozzle up against the side of the enclosure and spray, because then you're not really making much droplets. It just goes straight into the substrate. But I only bother doing that for like really small pseudophilodromids that are prone to getting stuck in water droplets. But even a lot of those, once the colony is big enough, like I just spray it. If a couple might drown, but most are fine. So yeah, no, it's not usually something I'm too concerned about. And yeah, most insects are fine being sprayed with water and don't drown unless submerged for long periods. Yeah, and again, some tiny little roaches and other inverts can get stuck in droplets along, against the sides of the enclosure if they get upturned on their back in the water droplet and they can't get out. But that tends not to be the case most of the time. And yeah, it's not really been a concern of mine. I've not really noticed any issues with that. Love the attitude of, I have cool things and you should too. Hell yeah, reverse gatekeeping. Exactly. Gate opening. Fair enough. I guess I'm just worried about them, lol. Yeah, and hey, better to be too concerned than not concerned enough. Even the small species of my springtails actively jump into the water droplets. I think they like it. Well, springtails most of them are like actively hydrophobic. They have a lot of hairs on their body so that they can, they don't break the water tension. So, and I think some smaller roaches are like that too. Like the Rocha inna, I've been spraying them down. I was worried about getting those drowned in water droplets, so I was being very careful. But then a couple times I missed their enclosures, I noticed, usually I would try not to spray the walls down, but sometimes I would accidentally. And I would notice the nymphs that were like hit by the water droplets would just like roll off of them. So I'm pretty sure they also have some probably some small setae covering their entire bodies that can't really see at a glance, but prevents them from getting stuck in water droplets. And it makes sense for those because they come from a rainforest, you know. Um, I'm pretty sure all the Rochaina are found in rainforests, so it would make sense that they're adapted to survive being, you know, showered in water. Yeah. These are getting into real darkling hours now. These are my Belaps Mucronata. These are not doing too hot for me. Kyle's are doing better though, so that's good. Hopefully he's able to establish a culture, but I think I've pretty much failed with them. I have a couple adults. One of them is captive bred, one is wild caught. I don't know. I could not get, most of the larvae would pupate and then die, either as pupa or freshly emerged adults. So that was really annoying, and not sure what they really want from me, to be honest. So, those are looking a little iffy. These are my Gondwana crypticus platensis. Very small species of micro-darkling. Pretty cute. These, I remember, these have some emotional relevance for me because these, I found these a lot when I was a kid living in Florida, and I liked catching them because they're just these tiny little, really fast-moving beetles, and I would, you know, I had like lots of containers in my bag. Oh, there's a tenorol one. Look at that. I'd catch them and like put them in jars basically and stuff. I had a whole bunch of jars and like buckets, 5-gallon buckets, just open lidded in the backyard of my grandfather's house when I lived in Florida, and I would just kind of toss a bunch of bugs in there and keep them because I couldn't keep anything inside. But that was like my humble beginnings way back when I was just a little tot. But yeah, these were one of those first inverts I ever kept. And no one really has these in culture. I might be the only person with these because I don't think anyone's ever really bought them from me. Should offer them as a freebie species. But yeah, they're cute. Cute little micro darkling. Alright, how... this... Finding out that I could zoom in is both a blessing and a curse because now I'm having a hard time putting it back to like normal depth. Because like if I zoom all the way out, I think that's more than usual. Like you see more of my legs than usual, and no one wants to see that. So I think that's normal. I don't know. It's so over. I keep fairly large species. My smallest is Simondo conservarium. Oh, well, you don't have to worry about drowning those for sure if you spray those down. Way too big for that to be a worry. That was probably a little too much water, actually. But so my Triophis species, not Fort Stockton. Where are these from? Does it say? Yes, Ector County, Texas. And these guys are starting to pop off now. Lots of adults. Triophis really are like some of the easiest Samophile darklings out there. You just throw them on sand and give them a humidity gradient, and then just throw dog food in there every now and then, and bada boom, bada bing. They make lots of themselves. This guy. My Aloides Riley here, I don't think these are going to be salvageable. Not sure what went on with these guys, but they just stopped breeding, and then I think there's a few larvae left in here, but none of them are making it to adulthood for some reason. So these might be kaput. But, I mean, they're not that uncommon here locally. So these are Adroides ventricosus, a little hairy darkling species. Did an unboxing on these recently, and so far they're doing well. Not sure if they're breeding yet. But hopefully they will be soon. We'll get them some fish feed pellets as well. It's funny, I think every time I've kept a species, I've started them with a different locality. I've kept like 2 or 3 California locales. These ones are from Nevada. I caught one here once. So yeah, it is kind of funny. But hey, hopefully I actually establish a colony out of the Nevada ones. That would be nice. These are Embathium depressum, the depressed pie dish beetle. These guys are itty bitty, but pretty easy. Another very easy samophile, honestly. To the point where I'm not even sure they're samophiles. They definitely like a sandee substrate, but I don't know if they need it that fine. I have mine on a mix of sand and cocoa fiber, and they're doing pretty well. I've been for years. These are like the coolest thing ever. These are Embathium murricatum, the OG pie dish beetle. These guys are the most pie dish beetle of all time. Super cool, concave body shape. Really unique. And this colony seems to contract into a Fagus fungus like on and off, on and off, on and off. I keep having to cure them of it. But they are rebounding from a previous infection and now are popping off. A bunch of these are adults I just reared up over the last month or so. So that's cool. These are Eloides gigantea, one of the largest U.S. darkling species. But unlike a lot of the other large darklings, these stunt very easily as larvae. And I'm not probably ever going to rear any up that are as large as these wild-caught ones without isolating larvae from a young age and culturing them like individually in 5-ounce deli cups or even maybe 8-ounce deli cups. Because they're maturing communally in the, that size, and that's teeny, that's tiny. This is a pre-pupal larva right here. So they're maturing out like this small. Oop. They're maturing out like this small. This is a captive bred adult. But, and then versus a wild caught adult. Super huge. So, it is a little unfortunate that they stunt so easily. Most of the larger Eloides don't stunt that much. If anything, if there's too many of them in one enclosure, they'll just eat each other. So, ends up working better that way, honestly. But these are Eloides longicollis, very similar to Eloides gigantea, same subgenus. It used to be Stenoloides. I think it's no, it used to be Zysta, and I think now it's Stenoloides. I see you, but how does it take your gigantea? How long does it take your gigantea larva? They pupate. What, like, I want to say like 3 to 4 months. Not that long. Might be longer if they weren't stunted. It might take them longer to grow to reach their full size. But these stunted ones, they take only like 3 to 4 months before they are pre-pupal. Then give it like another month from pre-pupal to larva to adult. But yeah. Anyways, these Aloides longicollis are among the easiest of the Aloides species to breed. Very hardy and prolific. And I mean, the Gigantea are pretty easy too. Just, they stunt easily. So that's a little annoying. Easy to breed, but hard to get full-size adults. Whereas that's not really an issue for most of the other Aloides. Alright, these I gave Apple today. These are my Tenebrae. This is Tenebrae obscurus. Nidus tenebrioides. These I need to replace their substrate. I think, I mean, they're still doing alright, but could be more prolific. I think I need to revamp their substrate. I'm going to take some of this moldy food out too. They're just not breeding that prolifically anymore. So I think the substrate got a little too frass filled, a little too dirty for them. So a refresh, probably just fresh sawdust, honestly, and they should start doing all right. Or rather, they should start doing better than all right. That's the goal. Like, the larvae are pretty chunky now, yeah. Well, you'll notice if they're ready to pupate because you'll start finding some, usually on the surface on the moist side of the substrate, kind of curled up into a J shape, and that means they're ready to pupate. So once you start seeing that, you'll know if larvae of a comparable size are in there. Those are also probably ready to pupate. This is Aloides extricata El Prado, New Mexico. A very chunky, rotund, and fairly glossy locality of extricata, which is a pretty variable species across its range. This is Aloides spinipes ventricosa. These are stock that's been in culture since 2006, I think. Orrin McMonagle's been the primary person to keep these going, and I'm hoping to carry the flame with that. I just put like 20 larvae into pupation cups a couple weeks ago, so I'm hoping for a fresh crop of adults here. They seem to be a lot more fragile in the pre-pupal stage, a lot more sensitive to too much or too little humidity in the pupal stage versus like Aloides spinipes macrua, which are pretty forgiving and tolerant of a wider variety of humidity ranges. These, I need to put these into a freaking enclosure with an airtight lid soon, because these are getting a little crazy. But these are my Cyaneus angustus, the larger flower beetle. They like pretty high humidity compared to, say, Tribolium or Tenebrae. But they are very prolific. Which is funny, this species is one that struggled for me for a bit, but then I started keeping them more humid, and then they started absolutely exploding in numbers. Moths. Hate them. Hate them so much. Hey. These are dead, but See if I can find a live one. Coleus ciliatus. Very cute, small species of, well, that's a Eusatus. Now, where's the Coleus at? Where are the Coleus at? Why aren't there that many of them in here? Here we go, there's one. Small, dune-loving darkling beetle species. A little confused by the lack of larvae that I'm seeing in here, because there were a bunch in here till pretty recently. This locality kind of sucks. I mean, I had a locality from Santa Barbara in the past, and they were way more fecund, way more prolific. This Monterey line seems to have a lot more ups and downs. But there we go. There's a larva, so they're still in there. These are, but yeah, look how weird the larvae of this species look. So skinny and elongate, and you would be hard pressed to guess what the adults look like by looking at the larva. That's for dang sure. Very freakishly long larva compared to the very short and you know, stout adults. Well, there were a lot of larger larvae in the dry substrate up until now, so I'm hoping that means more of them have migrated to the humid area and are in the process of pupating. That would be nice. Let's hope my trash talking will spur them into performing better. Yeah, should be good. Lloydes osculans, I'm considering getting rid of these. I don't know, man. They're alright. They're just, kind of lost interest in them in a little bit, to be honest. The woolly darkling beetles. It's like, I could devote a larger bin to them and breed them communally, and then that would be cool and pretty low maintenance. Like, if I gave them a 5-gallon bin, then I could breed much larger quantities of them and probably not even have to isolate any for pupation. But I don't know that I care about this species enough, so I might get rid of these in the coming months. These I will not get rid of. My Trirophis Fort Stockton? Yes, Trirophis Fort Stockton. Had these going since like 2020, 2022? Quite a while. And they are doing well. Which I'm pretty sure the Trirophis from Ector County are the same species, as these two localities are pretty close to each other. But I have no way of telling because this genus is very, I think it needs revision. I think the only way to key the different species out is via dissection. So, not gonna happen here. These are my Cryptoglossa infausta. Of all the Cryptoglossa I've ever kept, these are like the easiest to breed. Quite a few of these adults in here. Most of them at this point are captive bred. And I mean, I haven't really tried hard to breed a good number of them. If I really wanted to, I could. They're the most forgiving in terms of the humidity and substrate composition for the, especially for the larger larvae for pupation. They're just really easy going. Yeah, I think most of the larger adults in here are captive bred. But yeah, like most of the wild-caught adults are pretty small, and all of my captive bred ones, most of my captive bred ones have been significantly larger than them. Which is cool. Yeah, and they also produce pretty decently. I think there's probably a decent amount of larvae in here right now. They're not like super duper cannibalistic either. I mean, definitely to a degree, but I mean, there's always larvae in here. So they've just I should really offer I think I sell Asbolus mexicanus, but I don't think I've ever put these up for sale, and I don't know why not. I should probably do that. But yeah, I mean, as far as larvae go, as far as cryptoglossinae go, I found these to be the most easygoing and easy to breed of them. They still do prefer warmer temps for pupation, but like other than that, they're pretty easy, and you can rear them. You can rear the larvae individually on just cocoa fiber, and they do fine. I mean, obviously with protein food, like actual staple diet of some protein, but yeah, because some of the other Asbolus are more picky about the larva, the substrate. Like Asbolus mexicanus are strict samophiles. They only do well on sand. These, I'm pretty sure this substrate is like a mixture of clay that I dug up from like a construction site back in like 2021. So it's got like a lot of gravel and stuff mixed in with it. Some sand for sure. And like a tiny bit of like coconut fiber or maybe flake soil, something organic that has since degraded into dust. And then just like a little bit of crushed leaf litter. And I mean, they do pretty dang well. So yeah, those guys had going for years now. Trirophis are so freaking cute. I hope mine start making more soon. I hope so too. They are super adorable. One of my favorite darklings for sure. And they're easy, fairly easy. I mean, working with sand in itself is a hassle, but as far as sand dwellers go, they are among the easiest. Okay. Aloides acuta, these guys. I cross my fingers. I think I isolated about 20 of these for pupation here the other week as well. Problem with these guys is like the large larvae start acting up, they start dying off, they start acting like they want to be isolated for pupation, and then I do that, and then they just keep like molting. They don't pupate, so it's kind of annoying. But yeah, these are some of the these are our captive bred females. I reared these females myself from larvae. Alan sent me years ago, but they went unmated for a while. They're very heavy darklings. They went unmated for a while, and then Alan caught a male from the same locality earlier last year. Sent it to me, and I got the females mated, and they produced a ton of babies. And then the male died recently, but females are still kicking, and I think I've seen some hatchlings in there soon, so I think they're producing another round of offspring, which is crazy, if that's the case. But yeah, hopefully I can get a good amount of those to adulthood as well, because those are like the heaviest of the US darklings, and pretty cool. Right, these are Cryptoglossa variosa. These guys lay much more inconsistently. I've not had good luck getting these to reproduce consistently, to lay consistently. But one of these is a captive bred adult. This one is captive bred. And I reared another one up to adulthood as well, but it escaped its temporary like hardening setup, which was kind of a bummer. But I think these are still producing larvae. I mean, obviously the original pair I got was a pair, because they did produce larvae to begin with. But yeah, these are more of a challenge to pupate. You isolate the larvae, and they just never seem to want to pupate. So this species a little bit more of a pain. Alright, keep those on top. And then these are Aloides a cuticotta from Potato Chip Park, or well, near Potato Chip Park. But just a standard Aloides species. This is a fairly variable species across its range in California. Yeah, these guys have done pretty well. And these are all captive bred adults here. So, should be a wave of new larvae here soon, I'm pretty sure. There are pairs, so they should start breeding here soon. God damn it, just when I'm about to go to bed because I have to work early tomorrow. Stay up, Alan. Stay up. Who needs sleep? Who needs sleep? I do. I sleep like 10 to 12 hours a day. I'm a very eepy guy. These are Nyctoporus carnata. These are very much a pain in the butt. I don't know. I keep having like adults come out and then die fairly quickly after maturing. I'm trying to get them to pupate communally because every time I remove larvae for pupation, most of them die off. But they're piddling along, and 2 of these adults are fairly fresh. So I'm hoping they live a normal lifespan. I mean, they've been mature for a while and they haven't died off yet, so that's good. One of these adults is like a year or 2 old, I think. But the other 2 matured within the last several months. And I'm hoping for more to start maturing here soon. But yeah, these are a little bit of a pain. I think it's just that the adults, when they mature, the larvae don't seem to like excessive humidity in their pupal cells, and then when they mature into adults, they need pretty dry, well-ventilated conditions. If the air humidity is too high, the adults just drop. Which is a bit annoying. But you also can't keep them completely bone dry or they will dehydrate too, so it's like a balancing act, a really annoying balancing act. But this is a fairly new setup, and again, 2 of those adults are fairly freshly matured and they're still kicking, so that's a good sign, and I'm hoping more adults will start popping out here soon, because there was a decent bit of larvae in here, so should be some more new adults coming out too. No bed, only bug. Exactly. What are these? Oh, these are my Aloides armata. I gotta get low on adults of these. I need to start putting these into pupation again soon. Plenty of larvae, but I need to pupate some because I'm running low on adults. But they call these Aloides armata because every femora has a spine. All 3 pairs of legs have femoral spines, which is unusual in darkling beetles. Most of them, in subgenus Aloides at least, you can kind of see the femoral spines. But most subgenus Aloides species, only the males will have the prefemoral spines. Never females. But in Aloides armata, not only do both sexes have prefemoral spines, but they also have spines on all 6 femora, not just the front 2. So they are unique in that perspective. This is local Idahoan stock. I originally collected myself a couple years back. It looks like I'm down to a pair of adults. It's been a while since I reared any to adulthood, so probably should do that soon. Once some of the space is freed up in my other pupation trays from hopefully the Aloides Spinipes ventricosus should start maturing soon. Once they clear out of those trays, I'll probably go through and pupate up like 20 or so armata. These are Ambathium contusum and pyralis. Yeah, these are the bruiser piedish beetle. These guys are pretty cute. I just reared up a batch of adults of these guys. There's a bunch of new blood in here, and I have more pupating right now. Yeah, I'll give them a little bit more dog food. Do I have? I do have. Let's just rip the toilet paper scraps off of it. And, yeah, these guys could use another hide. Yeah, that should be good. All right. Almost done with the darklings. Which most of my darklings are confined to one shelf here. Here we have Asbolus mexicanus, which I do think I just isolated a bunch of these out for pupation as well for the first time in a while. Most of these adults now are captive bred, although there are still some wild-caught ones in here that I've had for like, what, 5 years now? Crazy. These things live forever, and they were wild-caught adults, so yeah, Asbolus verrucosus live forever. But most of these are captive bred. I tend to just like rear a few a year and call it good. But again, if I really wanted to, I could rear these in larger numbers, but none of the black cryptoglossinae are particularly popular, so it's not like it would be very profitable to rear a bunch to adulthood. Better off just selling larvae and keeping enough adults going to keep this culture, breeding indefinitely. And the one that is popular, the blue death fanny beetle, I'm not gonna lie. I tried breeding those. I reared a few to adulthood, and I was like, I'm bored. They just don't do it for me. The blue death fanny beetles, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they're so popular. They kind of, I'm just like I don't know, like burnt out. It's like the market's so oversaturated with them. People's feeds are so oversaturated with them. I've seen them a million times in pictures, and they're not that much more impressive in person. And so I just kind of, I don't know, they just kind of bore me. I'm not gonna lie. I still have some. I put them in my like communal, not breeding darkling enclosure that I have for like random spare adults from failed breeding projects. And there's enough in there that I could breed them, but it's just like I don't care to. I'm not interested. Not interested. But these guys, I like these guys a lot. They're very gangly. And they have a bit of a bluish, not pubescence, glaucous coating to them. Waxy coating. But, yeah, I like their pronotums are very angular. Very long-legged compared to a lot of the other Asbolus. Really cool. So, these are interesting to me. More so than the blue death fanny beetles. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll, devote the time and space and stuff to actually breeding blue death fanny beetles. But if I was going to do that, I would like to have like a couple of big incubators or fridges converted into incubators to just shove matured Asbolus larvae into. And I say more time, but I have time. It's just not time that I want to devote to that. I don't think I'll ever get to this point, but if I did get to the point where Invertebrate Dude was a company and I had employees and I had people taking care of the other stuff, or, when I move to the East Coast and I don't have to do maintenance on half of the stuff I have every week and I can go weeks without doing maintenance, then I guess I would have more time to devote to something like a blue death fanning beetle project. So yeah, who knows? in the future, mayhaps that'll be a project of mine, but Sean Kramer's got it covered over at US Invertebrate LLC. He breeds them in pretty decent numbers, so I don't really feel the need. Do these have locality? Oh, the Mexicanus? No. Sean Kramer sent them to me a few years ago. I think they're from Texas. I think that's all he could get in terms of locality info. But, yeah. No locality info on them. The Pyralis moths in my expanses tote mantids are happy, but I'm not. Yeah, well, wait until they get into everything else, and your life's gonna be a fresh hell. Thank goodness. Looks like your Pyralis colonies are still going good. Yep. Any more larvae from those giant tenebs? Oh, the Prinotheca? Not yet. They had like one batch of like a dozen or so eggs, and then nothing. I'm not sure. I'm almost wondering if I should mix some clay into the Prinotheca substrate to give them... I wonder if they want more stability in the substrate for oviposition, so I might try that out. Okay. Going back down. Blue Death Fanny beetles are nice to look at. In a communal tank, yeah, but couldn't imagine a swarm of them, yeah. Damn, I think Kyle lost the locality ones I gave him, so there goes the locality Mexicanus. Ah, rip. That's unfortunate. But, I think Kyle was... I think, like, he talked to me about them, like, years ago. About Mexicanus, and I, like, tried to give him some pointers, and he had a very different idea of how he was going to go about breeding them, and I guess that didn't work. But, yeah. But, yeah, I'm good with the ones I have. I like the Mexicanus. I don't think I would bother having a second colony of them, even if there was hobby stock available. Not hobby stock, locality stock available. Just because, again, like the time and space that it takes to breed the ones I have. You know, I'm happy with the colony I have. Kind of attached to the population I have, so I'd rather just keep those going. This was my old Eloides giganteus setup, but then I moved them to a new one. Can you guess why? But there were still larvae in here, so I kept it going. So there's still a few in here that need to be isolated for pupation. And then, lastly for this shelf, my Eloides littoralis. These guys. These guys are cute. These guys are like better Eloides osculans. They're smaller, but they're better because they're easier and breed like year-round all the time. Whereas the osculans seem to be more seasonal breeders. So, I like these a lot. And I don't have to separate them for pupation. They're small enough that they'll breed communally just fine in this 1-gallon bin. So yeah, I like these. I'm liking a lot of this. The smaller darklings, I like a lot. Because they're easier and they're just, less maintenance. A lot of the larger ones are not only, you know, because of their size, you have to isolate the larvae out for pupation, or else rear them in an enormous communal bin. But a lot of them are just divas, too. They're just really difficult and sensitive to humidity compared to a lot of the smaller ones. I love the littoralis. I think they'll be in my next order. I hope so. It's a good choice. They are very cute and very easy. Alright. And then I'll just do this last little bit here. These last two darkling setups. And then go to the bathroom. But this is Loides suturalis, which my colony had not so much a crash, but I lost a lot of my adults at once, and there's still a decent bit of larvae in here, but down to a single adult male. But I threw some larvae in pupation recently, and one of them just matured, and it's a female, so I will be back to having hundreds of larvae in here in a very short period of time. They are very insanely prolific aloides. But yeah, these guys are cool. These are the more vibrant red striped darkling. Very, oh, it just sprayed me. Yeah, and they also have like a pie dish darkling body shape to them. Very unique for aloides. Oh, that smells like insulin. A lot of darkling beetle defensive fluid just smells like insulin. But now my skin's a little discolored there, and will remain that way for probably a couple days. Alright. Yeah, so that's an older male. Not older. He reared him up last year, so he should be pretty young as far as darklings go. In fact, I'll show you where is she? Here. She's still in isolation, solitary confinement till she hardens up completely. But there's the adult female right there. Very vibrant red on this one. Beautiful. But yep, she's doing well, so we'll have a lot of suturalis here in the next few months again, so that's all good. And again, there's some more larger larvae in their setup I need to remove for pupation as well. These, alright, these pyralis tubes, I'm just like taking them out, chucking them out. This is my aloides spinipes macrua colony, which I should really move the ventricosa to something like this, or at least something of this size. I'll probably actually move them to one of these type setups, but these are the fairly large Aloides spinipes macrua that Kyle gave me years ago. And his aren't doing so hot, I had to send him a few back recently. So hopefully he'll get a colony established again. I think he had like a bunch of females mature but had no males, so I sent him a couple adult males because I had some extras. So I think I just isolated some of these, a few of these for pupation as well, so I should really do a proper batch of like 10 to 20 soon. Get out of here, you freaking pyralis. Yeah, these have done pretty well for me, and consistently have done well for me for a few years now, so, and I see hatchlings in there, so they just keep pumping them out. They're breeding year-round for me at this point, so that's pretty good. Alright. Darklings are done. Now, just a few... this was on top. I'll just take care of this real quick, but just a few miscellaneous roach and isopod bins left from the top of this shelf, and then will be good. This is my Platymeris laevicolis bin. Hoping these guys will reproduce. My female's been laying some eggs, but so far no babies. But yeah, these red spot assassin bugs, pretty cool. Okay, yeah, I'll lightly mix that. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go wash up real quick. All right. Actually, wait. You know what? I'm thirsty. I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back for reals. Sorry about that. I was had to, I gotta stay hydrated. Sweaty work in here. Probably lost a gallon in sweat just being in here all day. No, not that much. But yeah, I mean it is hot. It's like 80 something in here, and just lifting. You wouldn't think it'd be that hard of work, but just lifting, these dirt-filled containers, up and down, up and down, up and down for hours. It's a little tiring. You can work up a sweat. All right, these guys. This silicone barrier is not really barriering anymore. It's run a little too thin. Let's fix that. Just a little bit of extra lubrication on the walls so they don't. How much did you miss? Not much. I was just in the bathroom for a couple minutes. And now I'm lubing up the walls of this Panchlora setup so they don't get out while I'm taking care of them. Alright, that should be good. This is what I use. Food grade lubricant. Really effective. You only need a pretty thin layer of it, and I don't have to replace it that often. I did make the mistake of spraying the enclosure down first, though, so it's not sticking very well, but it does the job. Yeah, these are Panchlora species, Redlands, Florida. Very pale green species. Panchlora, pretty hardy, pretty prolific. Just a bit. I'll give them a couple more pieces of dog food. Call that good. What did I miss? Yes, a beetle stream, you say, as I finished with the beetles. Sorry about that. Just got my breeding colony of osculans and Hesperolus varicosa set up. Nice. Hope they do well for you. Ironically, I was talking about both those species this stream and how I'm probably going to get rid of my osculans, and Hesperolus varicosas are kind of did not pique my interest enough to warrant a big breeding culture. Where did I get my mister? I got mine, I think, from Home Depot. It's a 2-gallon DeWalt brand pump spray. Pretty good. This is definitely, I think, the best pump mister I've had so far. And it has a pressure release valve, so when I have to open it up and refill it with water, not damaging the O-ring constantly. So yeah, because that if you open up the the main port while it's pressurized, it can damage the O-ring. But with the little depressurization valve, that's you just lift that up, little tab you just pull up, and then the pressure is released, and then you can open it without damaging your mister. Someone get this man a new sock. Oh my god, is the sock making it on screen? Listen, I have lots of socks with no holes in them. It's just I keep getting to throw out the ones with holes. Every time someone sees it, they mention it. I think you guys are just obsessed with my feet. Really, I think that's the main problem. I'm not the problem. You're the problem. Alright. These are Illuma Caelata from El Granada, California. A cute little velvety isopod species. Really cute little guys. And this is a fresh starter culture. I mean, my last culture was doing great, and then they had a big crash due to overwatering. And then I got down to like 1 or 2 left, and then I got some more from Mason Bird, and now they're hopefully gonna start breeding. These are Venezillo Arizonicus Swaharita. I have it on good authority that these are true Arizonicus. So, that's cool. But there are several other Venezillo species from the southwest that are not Arizonicus and are undescribed currently. But hopefully that will be changing soon. And these are desperately in need of leaf litter. Armadillidium gestroy zinger, a white-spotted version, white-spotted morph of Armadillidium gestroy. Cute guys. What kind of substrate do I use for my isopods? Cocoa fiber, all day or day. I just dumped all those out. Cocoa fiber, sometimes like degraded coconut fiber that was previously used in an old roach enclosure. I'll just reuse it for isopods. But yeah, most isopods do not care about the substrate composition nearly as much as what's on top of it. As long as they top it off with leaf litter and such, bark and all that good stuff, they're fine. They eat that mostly. And supplement it with dog food and such, fish food, pellets, whatever, and they're good to go. I do need to give these some more leaf litter, though I think they've just about eaten everything in there. Back in the saddle again. Rock on, TJ. Welcome to the stream, Chris Snyder. Chris Sniper. You ready for the Bugapalooza? Got your rifle all calibrated. Got your internet speed maxed out, so you can snipe some more of the Kyle's auctions, break the hearts of fellow bidders. How do I get the isopods to breed so much even after years? I feel like I never achieved that very large. Get back in there. Population density. I don't know. I just it just comes down to I guess optimal husbandry. Not even some of my isopods are kind of, oh my goodness, these guys, suboptimal. I don't know. I mean, I just take care of them. It was what I considered to be fairly standard protocol, and I don't know, they tend to do well. I mean, not all my isopods are doing that well. Some are struggling. Some have crashes every now and then. These, oh my goodness, this Polyphaga aegyptia colony has hit critical mass. They're not being chill right now. I can barely open this without them getting out. I mean, there's just so much substrate. And because of the mesh ventilation, they can kind of just climb up. Like, look at this. This is insane. This is a Polyphaga colony. It's mostly the males being kind of crazy right now. Jeez Louise, let me mist you down. Give you some water. But yeah, I don't know, just decent husbandry, and the isopods just kind of take care of themselves, honestly. Some cultures have taken a few years to get to a good, like, population explosion level, but, you know, or others are, like the Zingers, for example, they just, they have such large litters. I only had a couple litters born last generation, and there's hundreds of babies. And that's all you need. And then the Venezillo took like a year or two to get to that population density. So it really just patience and just keeping up with the husbandry. And eventually your colonies will get to the level. Yeah, I got runners, I know. Jeez Louise, man. Just upgraded the internet, of course. You have to maintain your title. 20 plus practice 24. What's up, Mason? Got runners, love Polyphaga. Yeah, they're so cool. Don't let your isopods drink and drive, it reduces crashes. Speaking of the Egyptian sand roach, the females lay blank ooths. I only have adult females currently, but notice a lot of ooths popping up. Yeah, all roaches will lay ooths regardless of whether they've mated or not. It's like chickens, you know, they keep laying eggs even though they've not been mated. They're just infertile. And then for some roach species, they can revert to emergency parthenogenesis, and some of those eggs, even though unfertilized, might hatch. But it's usually only a minority of species that can actually do that successfully. Like I had a red runner female from Walmart. I caught it as a nymph, or no, someone else caught it and gave it to me because they knew I'm the bug guy at the Walmart I worked at, and it was a single female nymph. I didn't have any males for it. She matured and produced ooths, and one of those ooths, only one, but one ooth actually hatched, and all the adults were females. You know, it was parthenogenesis, emergency parthenogenesis. Unfortunately, though, none of the resulting females ever produced any viable ooths. I even paired some with the male, and they did not produce any viable offspring, so they were completely sterile. So it was not a successful form of parthenogenesis. But, yeah, kind of interesting that it even happened. Very unfortunate that it was not successful, because a parthel line of red runners could go hard. I mean, gosh. That would have been a popular feeder. But it was not meant to be. What do we got here? Anybody watch the Artemis 2 launch? No, I didn't. But that's exciting. That's cool. I heard it was successful. By the way, where did you get information on genetics and inbreeding colony? Vertebrates, very good information that I couldn't seem to find anywhere else concisely. I mean, a lot of it was is anecdotal, but I did like read some papers on the subject as well. Unfortunately, though, most papers on invertebrate inbreeding and the effects of it do focus on sibling-to-sibling inbreeding over multiple generations, which is the kind of inbreeding that I will concede can be very harmful, but that's not the type of inbreeding that usually happens for most colony cultured invertebrates. So that kind of proves my point that, yeah, that type of inbreeding is detrimental. But I couldn't find any papers, really focusing on like consistent cousin to cousin, grandchild to grandparent, like inbreeding type scenarios that you would get with a colony cultured of invertebrates. So as far as that group of that type of inbreeding goes, it's mostly anecdotal evidence, which, I mean, there is a decent group size, sample size of several different strains of invertebrates that were started with only a single female or two and have been in culture for decades and have bred just as fine and just as well as strains or cultures of similar or same species that were started more recently with, a wider variety of genetics. So goes to show that it isn't that detrimental to them. And I think for the reason of, as long as they are allowed to have overlapping generations, and as long as it's a prolific enough species, it doesn't really seem to be an issue. But yeah, no, definitely the effects of the sibling-to-sibling inbreeding consistently over multiple generations is definitely harmful, and the research does prove that. But the fact that that's the only inbreeding that those papers focus on does also kind of suggest to me that it was the only type of inbreeding worth doing those studies on. So the absence of research on the types of inbreeding that you would experience in a captive colony setup, to me, is also a bit of a signifier that it's not a big deal. Otherwise, there would be more studies on those effects. And I mean, a lot of those lab-cultured invertebrates that are common in laboratory testing and stuff are themselves the type of inbred that many invertebrate pet hobby invertebrate cultures are. So hopefully that made some sense. But yeah. Yeah, not a ton of research done on genetic inbreeding effects in invertebrates in general, so that was a little bit difficult to study. Talking to Neocharidia expert and parroted all your points, like the sibling inbreeding. He said points he agreed with all the papers he had read, which was cool. Oh, nice. He then asked me if I was involved professionally in colony invertebrate genetics, which was flattering. I wish there was more professional research in invertebrates and stuff. I mean, God, you're preaching to the choir here. I do wish. We need so many more scientists focusing not just on stuff like inbreeding in invertebrates, but also just invertebrate taxonomy. Very poorly understood compared to vertebrate taxonomy, and really needs a lot of revision, a lot of phylogenetic analysis, a lot of stuff just needs revised in general. So it is a bit sad that there's not more interest in that. Certainly plenty of work that needs done, but no one wanting to do said work. Alright, what do we have here? A prime example of inbreeding not really affecting things negatively in vertebrates. These are Blaptica dubia, John Frost ambers, and he's selectively. First of all, dubias in the hobby, I think it was like a dozen or so, maybe like 2 dozen individuals imported initially from Argentina, I think. Pretty sure all dubias in the hobby are single source from that one original import, so they are all technically inbred. There's been no new blood added from the wild ever. But this line was selectively bred for many, many generations. I think this guy took 10 years of selective breeding. And what he would do is he would breed up a bunch of the higher yellow dubias. He would pick out, what, like 10 or so of the best. I mean, I forget. He has a forum post on the old All Pet Roaches forum detailing what he did. But if I remember correctly, he would then take relatively small groups of the best looking adults, and I think like literally like maybe a few pairs or like 10 or so, and he would then start entirely new cultures, get rid of all the old ones, start an entirely new culture with the best adults of that generation, and once he had several hundred of those, he would rinse and repeat, and he did that for like 10 years. So the amount of breeding that these have endured is crazy, and yet they still breed very well. And as you can see, not really much in the way of physical deformations or anything. Really, the only effect has been that he selectively bred for very specific coloration, and he did so successfully. These look significantly different from random, wild type dubia. So, I mean, even the nymphs are so light colored. So, very cool, very successful line breeding project, and more. There's a freshly molted female right there. But, yeah, more proof that inbreeding in invertebrates is not really an issue in most cases. But yeah, look at that. These guys are super cool, super pretty. These are like the best dubias ever, in my opinion. Yeah, and they've started doing pretty dang well for me. These did take a little bit to get going. But I only started with like 12, so I think it's been a year and a half-ish now. And they're doing very well. There's a lot down in the lower layers there as well, but these egg crates are getting heavy. So yeah, super cool. Definitely my favorite of the dubia lines in culture. Let's give them... I'm gonna rip off this banana peel. Did I give those banana? Yes, I did. Okay. So then I'll give these some as well. And some apples. And a little fistful of dog food. That should be good. And I saw specifically most of the recent research and taxonomic revisions have actually just come from citizen scientists who just sprung out of the hobby. Yes, which is really cool. And I would like to see more of that, not just in isopods, but roaches too. Please, God. Roaches need some love. Blabberus and Gromphiodorini especially need some love. Speaking of Blabberus, here's some Blabberus discoidalis, Banana Bay. These were collected by my buddy Brandon Maines in 2018. Yes, 2018. This is slightly, so same locality, but collected at a different time than Kyle's Banana Bay stock, which I believe Kyle and Alan collected together. But, yeah, these guys, I think this was the last batch. Could be wrong, but these may have been the last batch of Discoidalis collected from Banana Bay before that area was turned into, what, a resort? It was developed further. than it already had been. And I do think a lot of the roaches there that once were found in that area have since been extirpated from that area. They are no longer found there, so that's kind of sad. But they persist in captivity. This is very, wow, I'm getting tons of babies of these now. These took a while to get. These took a long time to start breeding at all for me. And then I figured out they just want it really dry. Really pretty dry. And warm, too. I was keeping them at like 75 at the most, but now that they're up to like 80, 85, they're breeding a lot more consistently and fairly prolifically as well. Yeesh. Yeah, there's a lot in there. So yeah, pretty good feeder species, as long as you keep them dry, well ventilated, and warm. And they breed like feeders. They breed like roaches. Because they are roaches. Yeah, and these are pure discoidalis. A lot of the discoids in the hobby are just random mutt mixes. Some of them aren't even discoidalis. I've seen a lot of Craniferex fusca hybrids in the hobby that get labeled as discoids, which is kind of funny. But yeah, these are pure stock 2018 stock. Oh, almost took the camera down. Whoops. What are some of the big names in the roach keeping hobby, sellers and keepers and stuff? Well, you're talking to one of them. No. Definitely Kyle Candillion of Roach Crossing is probably like one of the biggest people in the roach hobby, certainly in the U.S. Alan John, also a very important key member. Like, basically, most of the U.S. native roaches in the hobby, we have in the hobby thanks to Alan. And he helps bring in a lot of other cool native inverts as well. So his work is instrumental to the current state of the hobby. So Alan and Kyle, huge. There used to be some other big names like Cody Will, Brandon Maines were pretty active, but they are... No, Cody Will I think is starting to get back into roaches for... Excuse me. But just for his own personal use as feeders, because I think he breeds rattlesnakes now and is trying to breed feeder lizards for them. So yeah, it's really just like Kyle, Alan, I like to think I'm, you know, if not a big name, at least a long-time hobbyist. There are some Polyphaga aegyptia camels just clinging to the outside of this bin that I missed. They weren't even trying to get away, they were just clinging to the outside of their own bin. That's really funny. I mean, as far as U.S. hobbyists go, like, that's it. Like, the roach hobby here is kind of dismal now. It's just such a huge turnover rate, you know. We have a lot of active members. Joshua Campos of Bring On The Bugs.blogspot.com. I like, he's been in the hobby for quite a while as well. Mason Bird is making a name for himself, Exotic Wilderness. His collection's been growing pretty big, and so I'd like to think he might be one of the bigger roach keepers here in the future. Junior Marquez is also a pretty big... He has a big collection. Maybe not as much as now as he used to, but he definitely has a pretty big collection, and he's a good long-time hobbyist as well in the roach hobby. Junior Marquez on Facebook, or Shiny Larvitar on the Roach forums. This is his name. Behijager, he on Discord and the Roach forum. He's also got a pretty big collection as well. But yeah, it's a lot of newcomers. This hobby has a very high turnover rate. The Roach hobby. We've lost a lot of people that were pretty big in the hobby like a decade ago, and then now we've been getting a new crop of new hobbyists over the last few years, and I hope some of them will stick around. But yeah, I mean, I've been at this since I've been at this seriously as a hobby since 2014 ish. I mean, as far as roaches go. And holy forward flies. And seen a lot of people come and go. A lot of people come and go. And there's just very few that have been in the roach hobby for very long that are still, I mean, active. Oh, and Oren McMonagle. How could you forget Oren McMonagle, the GOAT? But he's not quite as big into roaches as he used to be. And then overseas, you got like Jorg Bernhardt. He's been in the hobby forever. Very instrumental part of the European hobby, I would say. And a lot of our U.S. stocks come from him as well. Gosh, I mean, yeah. Even the European hobby has had a decent bit of turnover rate in the roach hobby. A lot of people will start with roaches, and then I see they move on to like isopods or reptiles. Oh, excuse me. Isopods or reptiles. In general, it's just a fairly small sub hobby in comparison to a lot of the other bug hobbies. And it's not a very profitable one either. There's not like big money to be made in roaches, especially not as much as the isopod hobby. So if people are in this for the business aspect of it and not just passion, then they tend to burn out pretty quickly. I mean, you see it in the roach hobby, and you see it in the isopod hobby too. Even though there is money to be made in isopods, it's such a saturated market. So you see a lot of people coming into that hobby just to make money off of it, and then they're gone in a couple of years. So that hobby, I mean, the big wigs of the isopod hobby seem to change up every few years. It's a rotating, cast of players. pretty high turnover rates. So yeah, there's really not many that have been in it as long as like Kyle and Alan. So. What's Oren into nowadays? Still bugs. Just not. I think he's kind of sort of taken just a little bit of a step back from the hobby. Not that he's stopped keeping stuff. I think he has probably reduced his collection to just the stuff that he really thoroughly enjoys, and he's just not really active on social media. He's never been active on social media. As far as his online presence goes, he's mainly active on forums, and a bit more old school. And I prefer forums to social media, but my gosh, is it no one uses forums, and it is admittedly a lot easier to share like photos and stuff on social media than it is on a lot of forums. So but they did just make some changes to the Roach forum now that it's under new ownership and on a new host server, and it's actually pretty easy to upload photos to there now. So I do hope more people start using it. I've been trying to stay more active on there as well. It is just hard to compete with social media apps. in general. It's where all the people are, the attention is. But yeah, he's still doing bug things for sure. He still has a pretty good assortment of inverts. He's probably got more isopods than roaches now, to be honest. But yeah, no, he's still an active member of the hobby. Bless him. And then reptiles are a lot like large roaches, except for the different limb count and the lack of an exoskeleton and their preferred diets and their reproductive systems and pretty much everything else. Exactly. Guess I haven't been into the iSpot hobby long enough to notice much of that. Forums tend to have a lot fewer bots. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And forums tend to be a bit more of a chill environment, too. I think. I mean, social media is just toxic as heck. Yeah, but no, with regards to iSpot hobby, I mean, if you're around long enough, you'll see it happen. I mean, the revolving door of main characters. There's a few that have been around for a while, and but a lot of them get burnt out pretty quickly, and move on after a few years. Especially those trying to make a living out of it, because it is a very competitive market, and it is very oversaturated right now as far as isopods go. So anyone who's in it for business more so than their passion, and you're going to see them disappear within a few years usually. Whereas those of us who are in it more for passion than profit will usually be around forever. Even if some people will, build up a large collection and then have to move or something and downsize their collection a bit. Often a lot of them will continue to keep, whatever invertebrates they're into, at least in a small capacity. Indefinitely. These are normal dubias, by the way. These, I keep rehousing them, ridding them of Alphidobias, and then the Alphidobias come back somehow. Yeah, so these are just normal, bog standard dubia. Oh my goodness, look at all of them there babies. Yeah, these guys look cool. Getting a lot of really dark ones popping up like this female. Look at that. The abdomen's basically just black. In my colony, I got my colony from 2 different sources. So these are like super outbred, genetically diverse dubias. Definitely not descended from the same parent stock from decades ago. No, surely the 2 groups I got must have been genetically distant. That's why they're doing so well. Yeah, I mean, I think this colony originally I got, they were like rescued from someone local here that I, what's the word I'm looking for? Someone local here that I know, they rescue stuff and rescue reptiles mostly, but what was it? Fish and Game, Idaho Fish and Game. I think they raided someone's house because they were neglecting their reptiles. And along with the reptiles, they had a few isopod and roach species, and one of those roach species was this dubia colony. And the guy that took them all in was like, hey, I don't need dubia. I already have dubias. I don't need these. Do you want a free colony? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I didn't have dubias. And then, like, a couple years later, I got a random group of free dubias that someone threw in as a freebie to a trade. And I just threw them in because I'll hobby do be our single source, so it doesn't matter. Other bots are invertebrate social media places. I don't see a ton, but there's a lot of trolls, a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of people I've seen a lot in the isopod groups trying to do like AI art and like selling that, and some of those accounts do seem kind of bawdy. There's also a lot of scammers too on forums, like a lot of scammers. So, not forums, sorry. A lot of scammers on social media. So, yeah. Yeah, like Facebook, I've just heard there's a lot of drama there. Yeah, Facebook's full of drama. See no one on there every so often. Toxicity versus chill is largely because of the bots versus no bots. I don't know about that, Chris. I think it's I think it has to do with like the more people you have in a hobby, the more toxic it ends up being because you draw in a lot of like a lot of the more niche hobbies. Let's be honest, it's mostly just autists, and as long as you're not like fighting, like as long as you're not very opposed in your views regarding the certain hobby what you're talking about, they tend to get along pretty well. But once you start getting all the normies, all the pet moms and dads, all the people trying to make a quick buck off of the animals, you know, once you get a large hobby with a lot of people in it, a lot of normies, that's when things start getting toxic. Especially the people trying to make money, especially the people that see this more as a business than a hobby. Those people get toxic very fast, very competitive, very, very touchy, and very defensive too. So that to me is the correlation of chill versus not chill. It's the amount of people, because like the tarantula hobby, yeah, arachnoboards. Not a lot of bots on arachnoboards. It's a forum. It's pretty well maintained. That you step into the. We used to joke about how toxic arachnoboards is. You step into any of the tarantula boards on there, and it's like it's a brawl. It's a bloodbath. People are on there fighting all the time, getting very very into it. But then you go into like the insects and other invertebrates section on arachnoboards, and it's like a completely different planet. It's like everyone's so chill there. Um, it's like literally just tarantula hobbyists versus the other bug hobbyists. And it's because tarantulas are a lot less of a niche thing. They're a lot more, a lot of a wider appeal. A lot more people keeping them. And with that, you get a lot more of those money hungry slash just, you know, aggressive people. You just get more and more normies, and they just tend not to be very chill, you know? Maybe it's because there's people that are like more like normal and more like socially inclined are just quicker to confrontation just because they're not as afraid of confrontation, maybe? Whereas a lot of us more introverted autists that control the more niche hobbies, I feel like most of us don't like confrontation, and most of us wouldn't even be that inclined to get into confrontation, even in disagreements. We tend to keep things pretty civil. That's the way I see it. That's my lens. I see the hobby through. More people equals more toxicity. Which is why the roach hobby has remained fairly chill, in my opinion, because it's still kind of niche, quiche, if you will, quirky plus niche, quiche. But but it is kind of sad when the hobby is that small. You know, you end up losing some species due to there not being a ton of people keeping everything. You know, more hobbyists would be nice, but I do sort of dread the day if the roach hobby gets as big as the ice spot hobby, that we start seeing more of that toxicity showing up. And I would just hope that because the bigger names in the roach hobby are all pretty chill people, I hope that hierarchy would stay that way, and that any of the newcomers that become bigwigs themselves will stay chill, and or just never be as popular as the chill folks, and then through like osmosis, hopefully the people who look up to the people that are bigger in the hobby than them will also adopt the mentality of not getting so serious about everything. Because I mean, you have people dox on Facebook. You have there's been isopod hobbyists that have like doxed each other over disagreements in the hobby. One guy like called out one other hobbyist for having some like having a more rabid fan base, I guess. Um, and I think one of those quote unquote like rabid fans, whatever, um, not only threatened death upon that person, but also like sent them a picture of their front porch. So yeah, it's very toxic over there on social media, and the iSpot hobby in particular is crazy toxic at the moment. I mean, you have people fighting over each other's fan bases and stuff. Like it's insane. Um, it's insane. So I just hope the roach hobby never reaches that level of insanity. Alright. That's it, though. That is it for today. That was the last container. That rack. So, I will probably stream again tomorrow. Yeah. So, thanks everyone for watching. Let me just check chat one last time. It's really okay. Are there bots and vertebrates? Really is easy to end up with $1 million selling roaches. The trick is to start with $2 million. Exactly, exactly, Chris. You get it. Such a common attitude. Those breeders really have a stranglehold on that sort of rhetoric. Haven't counted that much of that. What I'm hearing, TJ, is that careful culling can keep the hobby civil. Yes. It's just kind of hard to cull it. Because, some bad actors, even if you ban them, you know, they'll set up new accounts and stuff, and, you know, still maintain a following of their own. So, it is kind of hard to do that. So true, lots of neurodivergent people. Luckily, most of them are super positive from what I've seen. Yep. Yep. For real. I think we need to call some of those tarantula enthusiasts. The tarantula hobby's gone at this point. That's not touching that hobby. They are doomed to forever be a little toxic. But you know, honestly, that is kind of some of the charm. I'll sometimes still go onto Arachnoboards and just read some of the arguments going on the tarantula forums, and just like you know, just for my daily dose of drama. It's pretty fun. Just get some popcorn. Fairly interesting observation. First exposure I've had to that toxicity was IsoBuddy's video. That same situation I was just discussing. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, and that was that's insane. That's insane. It's dirt shrimp, man. We can't be getting this crazy over dirt shrimp, and like, it's insane. Let's throw down, TJ. Winner takes the other's fan base. Let's do it. I'll check in on tomorrow. Me with that tism. I'm doing my part. Yep. Stay statistic, my fellow my fellow neurospicy individuals. I hate that term, neurospicy. Oh my god. Just call me a slur. Don't call me neurospicy. Seriously. Oh my gosh. Fun to hang out with fellow bug people from a pet mom. Hey, listen. We all need the pet moms in the hobby, you know. I didn't mean that in a derogatory sense. It's okay to love and even, you know, anthropomorphize your pets to a degree. But some people take it a little far, and that's the group I was talking about. Peace out, everyone. Yep. See you guys. Thanks, everyone, for dropping in. Appreciate y'all participating, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.